Welcome everybody, my name's Duncan Green, I'm from Oxfam and I'm trying to keep people to time, which is my happy task. Before I introduce the speakers, we're going to have a 3-minute exec sum which will, on video, which will summarise this, which you can't have for free I think, but you can have the short version or the pen drive, so that should be enough for everybody, but we're going to see it on video first. Is that okay?
Yes.
Discussions at the United Nations General Assembly have made it clear that the new Sustainable Development Goals will integrate social, environmental, and economic objectives. This is a much broader agenda than the MDGs, and one that applies to developed and developing countries alike. It embodies new concepts and ways of working for development. Such a holistic and ambitious agenda requires financing to match. As this development cooperation report demonstrates, the money is there. In 2012, the share of global foreign direct investment to developing countries far exceeded that of developed countries, comprising 60% on average of international capital flows. Institutional investors from OECD countries provided $83 trillion to developing countries in 2012, making them a major potential source of long-term financing. Tax revenues already constitute an important part of developing countries' GDP, but they can contribute much more if mobilized effectively. For example, in 2012, African countries as a whole raised $527 billion in taxes, 10 times more than they received as official development assistance, or ODA. The Development Cooperation Report explores these and many other resources that could be tapped to finance sustainable development, including philanthropy, funds raised by NGOs, and South-South cooperation. The challenge now is how to mobilize these resources to finance sustainable development post-2015. In this scenario, the role of ODA depends largely on how it is used. In 2012, nearly $135 billion was provided as ODA to finance sustainable development, a record high. Yet this is relatively little in comparison to the funding challenge. This report argues that ODA will continue to play a crucial role. It shows a number of smart ways in which ODA can be used to make the most of other resources for sustainable development. ODA can offer solutions to countries most in need, where options are few and risks are high. It can be used to leverage other resources and to attract private investors by sharing risk. ODA can promote innovative financing that has the potential to generate as much as $635 billion per year, compared to the $1.9 billion raised for development today. And it can support policy reform for better investment environments and mobilization of domestic resources through taxation and control of illicit flows, for example. The time for ideas and action is now. The details of the post-2015 development agenda will be fleshed out over the coming year. This development cooperation report provides key recommendations on how to get started on financing those goals and how to move on and make progress in this journey that is a challenge to all countries and actors around the world.
Right, we can all go home now. Thank you very much for that. I'll introduce all the speakers so that we don't get interrupted in the flow, and then we'll just go from one speaker to another, and I'll introduce them in the order they are going to speak. So first up will be Erik Solheim, who is the chair, as I'm sure you all know, of the OECD Development Assistance Committee, formerly Norway's Minister of International Development and Minister of the Environment. He will be followed by Dirk Willem de Velde, who is head of the International Economic Development Group at the ODI and has something to do with the European Report on Development, which he will tell you about. Next will be Harpinder Kollikot, who is the Director of Engagement and Impact Development Initiatives. And then we have a kind of double act with Annalisa Prison, a Research Fellow at ODI, and Randy Halverson Quevedo from the OECD, who is a Senior Advisor in the Development Cooperation Directorate. Eric's going to speak for 10 minutes because he's the boss, and the others get 5 minutes each. Okay? And then we'll go to Q&A. Erik.